Good evening, everyone. This is your boy, D Freezy, aka Cleasy for Sheezy. And this is the Gospel of Cleasy, the podcast. Um, almost called a hiatus this week, guys. I'm a little tired, but I am here. As they say in Hollywood, the show must go on. They say a lot of other things in Hollywood that we won't discuss tonight. That might be a topic for another um, episode. Um, yeah, so I don't have a guest tonight. I extended an invitation to a young man that is from. I think I've said before on the podcast that I am from Southeast North Carolina, the 910 Columbus County, to be more specific. Um, the young man who's involved in politics down there, I won't say his name because he didn't give me permission to do so. But he is has some acquaintance with local law enforcement, county or city law enforcement down there in Columbus County, and he was running for some political office at one point. Don't know if he still is or not, but he is my friend on social media, and he posted um, some pictures of him attending the Donald Trump rally in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a couple weeks ago. And so I looked at it as an opportunity to bring the young man on to express his views, being that he is operating in a public service space. Wanted him to come on and talk about um, why he supports the candidate he supports in the upcoming presidential election. And I didn't get a response, so I don't. And that's all I'll say. I won't go any further about it. I didn't get a response, but I was looking forward to speaking with the young man and, trying to understand where he came from. It was not going to be any kind of ambush, and that wasn't my intention. I just wanted to have a conversation with him and just see where he's coming from and see if I could understand, why he feels the way he feels. I won't condemn anybody for holding any political position. Um, it's your right to vote for and support whatever candidate you want. First and foremost, what I would say is it's important that you do vote. So if you're voting, I can't be too mad at you. And I've been talking to brothers. I think I had brother Jesse McCoy on. I had my one of my best friends on last week, who both expressed reservations about supporting the Democratic nominee for president. And we had a cordial, civilized conversation about it. I understood some of the points that they made, and I hope they understood some of the points that I made. And so it's never my goal is to gain understanding, and I never want to be a gotcha type, ha ha, trying to um, berate, chide, or otherwise embarrass anyone for any belief they hold. I kind of want to understand, what it's based on, or what experience chose them to led them to make that choice. So you know the invitation's still open, and maybe down the road we can get together and we can talk about it. But that being said, we have 22 or 23 odd days left before the presidential election. Um, so we are in the thick of political season. So you're subject to see all kinds of things. And that kind of leads me into my next point, we this week here in Durham, I'm in Durham, North Carolina. Uh, our esteemed Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Mark Robinson, decided to make a appearance here at a establishment here in Durham, and I was aware of his. Um, I was made aware that he was going to make an appearance, but I didn't realize um, how close it was to me. And when I finally realized how close it was to me, it was over. I did go out there. I wanted to ask um, this gentleman some questions. I have some questions that I would like um, to ask him. Um, and I think as a citizen of this state, uh, that he is running to be governor of. It's my right to ask questions. And one of the questions, the main question, if you've been listening to me, you know that one of the um, trying to share my screen here. Let me see. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to discuss with him, and this is an article from. So this is dated February 21st, 2024. But I think I became aware of him making statements about reparations like this long before that. Because I do remember extending a invitation via Twitter or X, as you would call it now, um, to the lieutenant governor to come to Durham. I think Stanford L. Warren is not uh, fully operational now, but I think it was then when I extended the invitation to Mr. Robinson. I invited him to, come there and have a debate on the validity of reparations for the descendants of slaves. Of course, it went unresponded to, um, but I wanted to ask because if you see the headline, it says um, black people owe reparation, but wait, there's more foolishness. This is from the root, courtesy of the root. He said the descendants of slaves are not owed reparations. We need to pay, and that's not even the half of it. And that is about as far as I want to go reading any of this, anything else related to him. But you know, so the young brother that I tried to invite on the show, and Mark Robinson, and this week I've been seeing uh, a lot of what I would label as propaganda, trying to mislead us into thinking that there is a large percentage of the black population, the Nubian population of this country that are supporting Donald Trump. I think that is a fallacy, straight up. We had Brother Cedric Brown, who holds a master's degree in statistics, last on the show last week, who talked about taking polls and things of that nature with a grain of salt. Right. What I think is happening. What I think is happening is this is a talking point for the media that's being pushed, um, so that it does a few things. It fills space. It gives them something to talk about, and it tries to place the onus of the direction of this country on the backs of Nubians, and that is well, we've always had the burden of being the pragmatist and the conscience of the country. Black people are the conscience of this country. We're always the ones to come in and you know make the right decisions, um, the decisions that are best for the direction of this country, even to our own detriment. We are the selfless group, if there's such a thing. We often put the interests of the country ahead of our own, and that is honorable, but it's not always a good strategy, and it sometimes comes back to bite us in the keister. So, you know, uh, I think I saw something this week that said, you might be able to hear my dog barking. It's okay. Um, I saw something. What was I saying? Uh, I saw something this week that said, uh, black in the last election, black women supported Joe Biden at about 95%, and the second highest group was black men at about 85 or 90. And there's no indication that I see that that is going to be any different. I'm going to share another. Hang on. Share another graphic with you. Let's see. Is it? Can't see it right. This. Hold on. That's not it. Let me see if I can get it. No, you can't see it. Where's my dog barking at? Stop screen. But basically, it says it's a CBS News poll. I wish I could figure out how to show it. Hang on, because pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? Share screen. Cancel. Hang on. Anyway, it's a CBS News poll. I can't figure it out. I have to remind y'all I'm a Gen Xer. Shit, I closed it, but it basically said. Bear with me. I need a AV guy. It basically says 2020 exit poll, 87% of black people were voting Democratic, 12% were voting Republican. As of October 8th through the 11th, 2024, 87% of black people are voting Democratic and 12% are voting Republican. So there's nothing changed. What I think is taking place is the loudest voices that are black and if not anti-democrat, if they're not anti-democrat, I mean if they're not pro-Trump, they're anti-democrat for and there's a myriad of reasons to be for black people in particular to be distrustful of both parties. And I think I've said that before. But you know, you have to be pragmatic about things and choose the one that maybe not is going to save you because neither party is going to save us. You have to choose the one that is going to the do you the least harm. I think I said that before. So I don't think what I think is happening is a narrative is being created to make it seem as if black people in mass are going for Trump, and that is going to be the thing that decides the election. And if let's think about it, if 12%, let's do the math, it's 45 million. Let's say 45 million black people, right? My math serves me correct. 45 million times 12 is 5.4 million. I don't remember what the margin of victory was for the last election, but I think it was more than 5.4 million. So the point I'm making is if there is a very small but loud segment of the black citizens of this country that are in support of Donald Trump, it's not going to make as much of a difference as they're making it out to be. They're trying to play another game with us, which they do a lot. So I don't, like I said, if you're voting and you feel strongly about who you're voting for, or you feel strongly about the person you're voting against, vote. Do and I can't hold, I can't hold any ill will towards you for your decision. It's your vote. You're a citizen of this country, the same as everybody else. So you have a right to vote for the candidate of your choice. I just don't think. I think it's a it's a it's smoke and mirrors. They're trying to make us think that, and I know that there are some black people that are going to vote for Trump, and there are some black people that support Trump wholeheartedly. Um, and more power to him. I hope if he wins, that he sees to your interests, and that you get everything that you think that you are going to get from it. Um, and saying that, I'm not saying that Kamala's going to do. Um, she's going to necessarily see to our interests any. Well, no, I'm gonna just go ahead and say I think our interests will be seen to better. That is just my opinion. So I'm gonna respect everybody's opinion, and that is mine. And this is my podcast, so I can say what I feel. Um, as in the words of Mystical, I'm the shit on this label. So it is what it is. But um, yeah, so he came to Durham, and I, as the chairman of the Black Liberation Action Committee of Durham, political action committee devoted to the liberation of Nubians, also referred to as Black people, also referred to as natives, also referred to as um, African Americans, through economics and politics. So, as the chairman, I had some words. I had an exchange with the company or the establishment that hosted Mr. Robinson, because I firmly believe in, when you get into boycotting corporations, it's very difficult because they are involved in so many different facets of our lives, in the respect that so many of the products are, or they own so many companies that make products that we go to the stores and buy. It's kind of hard to boycott them. But what we can do is identify those businesses, whether they be small businesses or mid-size or corporations, that clearly demonstrate that they hold opinions that run counter to the interests of Black people, of Nubians. We can not support them. That is our right. And so I'm not even going to call the name of the establishment. I wouldn't give them that much light. But they, we got into an exchange on social media, and they were like, well, we would host anybody. And, if you got a candidate, you want to come, we just wanted to feed the people. And, we got to the point where I said, so it was just about you making money. And, one of the, I guess I would assume they're the owners, was like, yeah, well, we're in a restaurant. That's what we do. And, and I get that. We live in a capitalistic society. We have to, money is the life's blood of our society and civilization. Like, that's what that's what it runs on. I get it. You got to make money, but you do not have to side with um, those who are divisive and hateful, just to make money. There comes a point, in my opinion, that you have to decide: is it can you afford to do business with a person, and not just monetarily, also morally. So, um, and I think the last thing that the person said to me was, we'll host anybody, with any beliefs, and my reply was, anybody. When you say anybody, do you mean, you know, Klansmen, anti-Semites, um, you know, so you're saying that because it sounds good, but I challenge that. I don't think you would support anybody. And the point I was trying to impress upon them was, anyone that says things, that has a that's a politician that says things that are harmful to black people, is an enemy of black people. And those who support enemies of black people should not be supported by black people. That is my opinion. And for that reason, I will not spend one dime in the place that hosted Mark Robinson here in Durham this past week. And you can't make me. So, um, in the entertainment world, I kind of mentioned this last week on the episode. I watched a very good documentary on Amazon Prime called "The Evolution of the Black Quarterback." It's narrated and hosted by Michael Vick, who is one of the all-time great quarterbacks, black, white, or other. And he gives us some history and some players that I never knew of. I was a huge Denver Broncos fan for a long time because of John Elway. I got his jersey. And I didn't know that there was a gentleman whose name was Marlon Briscoe, I believe, played quarterback for the Broncos way before John Elway, and he was good. And it just talks about how what those who came before the ones we see today, the Lamar Jacksons, the Dak Prescotts, the Pat Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, what those that came before them had to endure in order for them, the ones that we see in the game today, to get the opportunity. And it reminded me of a quote from the late great Kwame Ture. And the quote goes as the quote is, everything that any black person has achieved in this country has came from the blood of his people. Somebody before you had to literally bleed for you to enjoy the liberties that you enjoy today. And I think that's lost on society today because everything is so microwave. Everybody has ADHD, in my opinion, myself included. COVID only made it worse. The pandemic only made it worse. And so we don't take time to go back and look at what had to happen in order for us to enjoy the limited freedoms that, and I say limited and it's relative, freedoms that we enjoy today. Um, you know, and you just think about it. We can hit the high points. For slavery to end, people had to bleed. We had to have a civil war. For blacks to get voting rights and political power, somebody had to bleed. There's, Wilmington, North Carolina is a perfect example of black people having to bleed to get political power, or after they got it, they bled and lost it. Voting rights, civil rights, equal protection under the law. All these things came after black people suffered. And I just cannot, in good conscience, ignore the sacrifices made by my ancestors so that I can, you know, enjoy, I and my children and their children, um, when that time comes, can enjoy the liberties that we have today. And I think people should think about that before they say things, or make statements, that, in my opinion, are somewhat disrespectful to those who came before us. You shouldn't disrespect your ancestors. No ethnic group that I know of disrespects the sacrifices of their ancestors. They're held in reverence, and their songs and stories and, all kinds of cultural things around the sacrifices made by the ancestors of other ethnic groups. So I think we should think about that before we make statements. And oh yeah, and I got the ticker running at the bottom. Um, I put that there, and I forgot to mention that, but I hope you can see it. If anybody wants to call in and talk about you know their position, in this upcoming election and why, I'd be glad to have a dialogue with you. So 910-430-9595. Give me a call. We live. Um, what else was I gonna say? Kind of all over the place. I'm tired today. So I talked about the evolution of the black quarterback. Um, yeah. So and sports and politics are so interrelated. We don't, we tend to think that, um, as one reporter said, I think she was referring to LeBron James, shut up and dribble. But racism, where black people are concerned, affects every facet of our life. So anything we're involved in, there's a racial component. And if you watch Evolution of the Black Quarterback, you can see it. There were always, and there still are, criteria for black quarterbacks that was not necessarily the same for quarterbacks of other ethnicities. Um, you know, can't think, don't want to stay in the pocket. These type of things. Always something to make black people seem different in some way, or uh, not able to conform to what's needed to do a job. And you see it in sports, you see it in corporate America, you see it in the military. Uh, I have a relative, and I always had the opinion that where racism was concerned, the military was affected the least, because if you do your time and you do what you're supposed to do, you're gonna make rank. But I have a relative that just recently retired from a military branch of service, and they were describing to me how someone other than them that had come in after them, had less time in service, was promoted ahead of them, and they were to be made to train the person that was promoted ahead of them, and they opted to retire. And it was almost an extortion type deal, where they were like, you can't, you don't, and they clearly had the time to retire. And they were like, well, you can't retire. They almost said, like, you can't retire until you train this person. So, I was shocked, but not shocked. And when I get shocked by instances of racism, I get angry with myself, because I should know better. I've done way too much research to be surprised at this point. But yeah, so every facet of our lives. So when you see these guys make political statements, and I won't ruin the documentary for you if you plan to watch it, but when athletes make these political statements, they're crucified or vilified, and told that they need to just be quiet because they're rich. You have no reason to complain because you're rich. But if a person is wealthy and still feels they need to say something, that says a lot about the character of that person. That person is saying that even though I have achieved some success, some level of success, my people, the masses of my people are still suffering. And shout out to Colin Kaepernick. Shout out to Colin Kaepernick, man. A lot of people had a lot of wild stuff to say about why he was doing what he did. My point is always this: he did it. Did you? When you had the opportunity to stand up and speak on behalf of your people in the conditions that have been put upon your people, do you? So if you haven't done that, you should be very slow to criticize him, in my opinion. Um, you know, uh, and he mixed and same dumb stuff with Kamala. Like I heard, I'm a hip hop head. I heard a brother in more ways than one. Um, peace to the guys. Say the same talking points that I know they're coming. I know they're coming. I know where they're coming from. I know where they're coming from. And it's scary. What's scary to me is people, and I've been talking about this for years. I've been talking about this almost ever since I've been on social media. People only read, just like I showed that article earlier about Mark Robinson. People only read the headline. They don't, and then when it's video, they only see a very small clip of an entire interview, and you can easily take that stuff out of context. And but before you know it, it's gone viral, and people are repeating it without looking into it at all. And so my fear is, I said this on social media the other day, that we're going to have a Chicken Little or War of the Worlds type moment where some kind of AI it's not bullshit. It depends on what it's being used for and who's using it. Any tool can be good or bad depending on the intent behind the person using it. So somebody is going to make some kind of AI stuff that looks real and is happening or is being made to seem as happening in real time, and half the world is going to damn jump off a fucking cliff. Excuse my language. War of the Worlds was a radio program. I think it was Orson Welles. He did back before TV. I don't remember the date. And people were running outside because they thought the aliens had invaded Earth. And at the end of the program, he lets you in on it and lets you know that it was just a dramatization. But like the people that were listening to that radio program really thought we had been invaded. And almost 100 years later, we're in the same damn boat that we were in before the television. Like, my granddaddy always told me, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. I think now it's probably more like a fourth of what you see, because with this AI and video augmentation and stuff, you have to be very careful. And, every time I get into a debate with somebody about an issue, they send me a link or they tag me in an article, and it's from some outlet I've never freaking heard of before. It's not the Onion. It's some kind of fly by night damn, Canva. They went on Canva and used a template and made it look like a news agency, and they just putting in all kinds of crazy stuff. And around the 2020 election, they told us, they Department of Homeland Security, and I know you can't believe everything you're told by even by your own government. You got to question everything. They told us clearly that they had evidence of Russia trying to use social media to influence the 2020 election. They told us that. And what I realized after that was I who I'm very particular about my sources and the information that I put out. I don't want to put out misinformation because there's enough people doing that already. I was sharing some of the stuff that they were using. And so now my general rule of thumb is, and I know you have to have alternative sources of information. You can't rely on the quote unquote mainstream media for anything. But you have to use the rules of you have to use the scientific method, really. I mean, they taught us that they taught me that in high school. You have to use the scientific method and you have to test theories and you have to get more than one source and compare and see if it lines up or not. And we're just not doing that. We're just regurgitating. We're just regurgitating things that we hear people say without doing any kind. And you got a phone in your freaking hand. And I hit my mic stand. Sorry. You got a phone in your hand, but you don't. You got a phone in your hand. Well, you see, in my when I was a younger man and I was trying to gain the knowledge myself, I had to go to the library and I had to go to the card catalog and look through it to find books with topics that I was interested in or that I was researching. It took some work. It doesn't even take that much work now. And the fascinating thing to me is with all the information at our fingertips, in my opinion, the majority of us are more misinformed than ever. And we're way easier to be misled than ever. And it scares me. It honestly scares me because we're going to, you know, in the words of George Carlin, one of my favorite comedians, one of the greatest comedians ever, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. So a bunch of people, and I'm apprehensive about using the word stupid, but that's what he said. That's a direct quote. I didn't say it, George Carlin did. But when people, the herd mentality, when people get scared and start doing, like we saw it with the port. We had an issue with the ports being shut down. I think it was 55,000 workers went on strike. People went out and bought all the toilet paper and water that they could carry. And the strike didn't last a week. And first of all, toilet paper is domestically made, a lot of it. So like it's just these knee jerk reactions that scare me. They really scare me. And Donald Trump is another great thing I watched over the last week. Mr. McMahon on Netflix about Vince McMahon in the WWE, which Donald Trump came through. And Donald Trump makes all kinds of claims and accusations that are baseless. And the people that follow him believe, I don't know if they believe everything he says. I would have to ask one. I don't think a person in their right mind could believe everything he says because it's easy. A lot of it's easily like when he says it that it's not true. Um, but you know, um, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I guess the point I'm making there is know where you're getting your information from, and before you react, before you react, make sure that the information that you are acting upon is valid. That's all. That's basically what I want to say. Because you don't want to run outside thinking that the aliens landed and it was a show on TV. That's you know. I mean, I'm not me personally. I'm not scared. Hell, I mean, what can they do that ain't been done to me already? I mean, they might take me somewhere that's better than here. Shit, let's go. Let's see what's up. I'll give it a shot. If I ain't got to be the N word on your planet, do I have to be the N word on your planet? If not, I might give it a shot. Let's ride. I'll come back. And visit. I'll send. You see me on social media if the Wi-Fi is strong enough. So, yeah. So I'm just talking. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about you brothers that swear y'all love Trump. Can't believe the brother I saw was talking that crazy stuff, talking about, and then I got into a series, well, not serious, but I got into an exchange with a brother who was trying to tell me Kamala Harris's daddy is Irish. Kamala Harris's daddy's name is Donald Harris. He is Jamaican. He's black Jamaican. And from what I know in Jamaican people, they ain't never made no distinction between them and us. The ones I know, when I went to Jamaica, they didn't treat me like I wasn't one of them. They told me welcome home when I got off the plane. So, and then if you're gonna say, let's just get it out there. So, if Kamala Harris's dad is Jamaican and he's not black and she's not black, is Kool Herc black? Is Busta Rhymes' parents black? Is KRS-One black? Do you know how many Jamaican people of Jamaican descent are in hip hop and music, in American music? Is Bob Marley black? Is Marcus Garvey black? So you're gonna have to make me understand how they black and she not. That's crazy. That's freaking crazy. Like, stop it. Oh, Brother James said they might not believe it, but they like it. That's that's an interesting comment. That's an interesting comment because so they may not believe it, but they want it to be true. So they're gonna support the guy that uh, tells them that they're gonna get it back like it was in the 1950s when black people had to go around the back and get food. And see, the other thing I don't like is the thing I really don't like. And I was talking to my son about this. Is I ain't really worried about Trump. I'm worried about the people that I come into contact with that hold those beliefs and are emboldened by him and think that they can inflict that stuff on me. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you can't. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna just be as honest as I can about it. You can't talk that stuff to me. This is not 1950. And I am not a follower. I admire Dr. Martin Luther King. I admire what he did. I admire what he gave. I would never disrespect him. I do not follow the philosophy of nonviolence. If I don't advocate violence, but if someone attempts to harm me, I believe I have the right to defend myself, and I will use that right. So, I'm not worried for myself. I'm worried for an idiot that gets, you know, spun up, gets a battery put in his back, and thinks that he can spew that shit at me. That's what I don't want. I don't want that because typically I live and let live. I try not to bother people. I really do. But I don't want to be bothered either. And that's the best way I can say that. Yeah. Thank you, brother. I hope so. I don't, I ain't looking for it, but I just, we don't need that. We don't need any promotion of division. We need someone who is going to try to find common ground across all groups and try to bring us together. You know, Obama was supposed to do that, and I would say he probably tried. And there was a, I haven't looked into. Um, he made an appearance this week. You're absolutely correct. It's intelligent. Defense is not violence. It's intelligent. I think Brother Malcolm X said that. Peace be to El Haj Malik El Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X, also known as Detroit Red, also known as Malcolm Little. Peace be upon him. Um, what was I saying? Can't even remember now. Oh, okay. Um, oh, Obama made an appearance this week, and uh, there were some comments about him lecturing black people again. Um, and I haven't seen it, so I really can't comment on it. But I know that I have. This will be so. I'll make my position about President Barack Obama known. First, he was the best president in my lifetime. Let me say that first, unequivocally. Second, he didn't do what I would have liked to seen him done as the first person of color as the president, especially in the second term. Second term turned me off. I was completely on board when he was elected, when he was reelected. I was on board at the beginning, but then towards the end, I got off. And and that's not to say I dislike him. I would love to meet him. I would love to talk to him. But his position on reparations is problematic. And I saw a commencement address that he gave to the brothers at Morehouse. Those brothers sat in the rain to listen to him give that address. And the things he said, I didn't like. I didn't like the way. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. I think a lot of people, because we were under the assumption, right? And this goes back to politics and how you have to maneuver in political spaces. What you have to do is get assurances before you vote for people. That way, if they don't do what you said, then you vote against them the next time. We didn't do that either time he ran. And so when he was elected and then reelected, we were like, okay, when is it coming? And he was like, what? You didn't ask me for nothing. You know what I mean? So I'm encouraged in a way this time around, because this is our second time around with a person of color. But we're not organized in a way where we can, like, we don't have a mouthpiece. We don't have a lobbying group. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We're getting close to the end. But we still are not operating in the political space the way others are, you know. Um, so we should be pressing them. And I heard that California, California was working on reparations, and I heard that the California Congressional Black Caucus was making a lot of noise about not kicking in if the reparations bills didn't get passed. And that's what we should be doing. It's a game. It's leverage. It's like quid pro quo. You do something for me, I do something for you. I vote for you because you said you're gonna do things for me. That's all it is. And we make it way more complicated than that. So that's really all it is. Um, but you're absolutely right. cuz they vilified Ice Cube for that, and I was one of the ones that was defending Cube. Now, since then, I was defending Cube because he was doing, if he was doing what he said he was doing. He was doing exactly what he should have been doing. He went to both parties and he was like, "Hey, this is our agenda." And I can't remember the details, but he said that the Democrats didn't want to meet, and he took a meeting with the Republicans. Exactly. We should be operating in a space where, regardless of who wins, our interests are being met. So that's a great point, cuz I appreciate that, cousin Tori. Thank you for tuning in as well. Yeah, that's a great point. Like, politics is power. That's all it is. That's all it is. You don't have to look. It's not a contest for homecoming king and queen that you gotta like them. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to like them. They're a tool. They're just like a hammer. When you get ready to drive a nail, you're gonna need a hammer, right? When you need a social issue addressed, you're gonna need a politician. It's that simple. I don't know why we make it more complicated than that. You know, and if you actually think Donald Trump is going to see to your interests, then you should vote for him. But my question to that would be, when did he tell you he was, and what is your interest? Because I haven't heard him give a substantive policy on anything. All he does is talk about the other side, you know, and project. So lastly, got about 9 minutes left. I really didn't plan to go this long, but people say I like to talk. They might be on something. So of course, this past Monday was the anniversary of the attack. He never has. Thank you. You're absolutely right. I don't ever hear him talk about anything that's going to help. He has concepts of plans, but no plans. So October 7th was the 1-year anniversary of the conflict in Palestine. And I talked about this last week as well. Ta-Nehisi Coates has just written a new book called The Message. He was making the rounds on all the shows, and he made a stop at CBS this morning, where he was interviewed mostly by Tony DeCopley. And I encourage you. It's on YouTube. I would try to show it, but I'm sure to get flagged and taken down, so I'm not even going to try. But just type in Ta-Nehisi Coates, Tony, or CBS this morning. It'll come up. Ta-Nehisi Coates is one of our most brilliant people, one of our most brilliant writers, one of our most brilliant minds. He's radical. I would call him radical. But he's in the academic space, so that always looks a little different than at the grassroots level. But his defense of why has he got to defend his book is the first question. But his defense and his rebuttal of the things that Tony DeCopley said was so brilliant. It was so brilliant. Tony DeCopley said that he started off by saying, man, you have to watch these people. So he was like, if I take away all the awards and all the National Book Award and all the New York Times stuff and all the notoriety you got, this, I would expect to find this in the backpack of an extremist. He basically called, because what Ta-Nehisi did was he spent time in 3 places: in Senegal, in Charleston, and in Gaza, Israel / Gaza. And he wrote about his experiences there. And so he was very critical of the government of Israel. And Tony DeCopley took exception to that, and it was clear in the interview. Gail and the other dude, I can't remember what his name is, the NFL dude, didn't say a word, really. Gail asked at the end, she said, 20 seconds, what do you want people to know? because Tony went in. Tony went in, but he didn't get he effed around and F found out. That's what he did, because all I can say is just listen to it. And it's just, you know, oh, this is the point. This is the point I wanted to make, and I'm gonna probably end with this. You know, this is what they do. And they're overplaying their hand. And you figure out who I mean when I say they. They're really overplaying their hand. I watched another interview this week because of Brother Rakeem. Shout out to Wise the Dome and that whole movement. Follow them, subscribe. Follow him and subscribe. A brother Muhammad Hijab on Piers Morgan with Alan Dershowitz, and they had a three-way debate about Israel. And this is the thing that stuck out to me. They talk about this attack, right? They talk about this attack. What no Western media, what I would venture to say almost no media is saying, is that the place that was attacked is occupied territory. It is not technically Israel. So the place where that concert was held has been occupied by Israel, taken away from the Palestinian people, settler colonialism, and it's been recognized as part of Israel since 1967. Now, if you know history, in 1948, Israel was formed. There was a border. And hold on 1 second. I'm gonna finish with this. Okay. You see this? This is prior to World War I. This is what is called Palestine now, on the far left. It was controlled by the Ottoman Turks. And after World War I, the British won this area, and it was called Mandate Palestine. This is the time when Eastern European Jews started migrating into this area in small numbers. So when they got to, I guess, a critical mass stage, they decided that they wanted their own country. And go back and look at a document called the Peel Commission, P-E-E-L Commission, and look at what, now this is controlled by Britain. Look at what they promised that the Arab Palestinians and the Israeli, not yet, but the Israeli Jews. There was always supposed to be two states. The Oslo Accords re-emphasized that many years later. So two things: the Peel Commission and the Oslo Accords. Look those up and look at what they did. So after 1948, you can see 1949. This is considered Israel now. All of this. Now this is the West Bank. Gaza is here in yellow. 1967. They all have an Israeli flag now. So they're creeping out the whole time. And now 1995. This is the West Bank, and the green is Palestine. The white is occupied. Israel occupied. You see how over time they have been slowly taking parts that were not designated as Israel. And that is the root of the problem. And it is going to continue to be a problem until the Palestinian people are given a sovereign nation. So you can't throw a rock and hide your hand. You can't take people's land and then turn around and say, we have a right. And there was a great exchange, and Ta-Nehisi, probably one of the most insightful things he said. He said, Tony asked him, did he think Israel had a right to exist? He said, I'm not going to argue about a nation's right to exist because nations don't don't exist through rights. They exist through force. And Israel does exist. So why are we even discussing their right to exist? They exist. Just like them, and he said, just like America. America came into existence through force, through the Revolutionary War and the genocide of the native people. It was force. So, there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack there. Okay. I'm done rambling. It absolutely does. It absolutely does sound familiar, sister. And it's just like sports. When a play works, what do? You keep running the same play until they stop it. So I say it again. When a play works, what do? You run it until the other team can stop it. So what does that mean? What does it mean to you? I'm just talking. Don't pay me no attention. All right. So that's all I have for tonight. If you get up with the brother, I know a lot of y'all probably know. If you're watching, you know who I'm talking about. If you get up with him, tell him to holler at me. I love to have him on. We can chop it up. It'll be fun. All right. Peace and blessings. I hope y'all have a great week. I'll talk to you again same time next week. One.